Liverpool versus Brighton. Aren't we supposed to be playing them on Saturday? Jokes aside, coming up against a Brighton team away is never an easy game. They've been a tricky side to play against so far this season, and to make it even tougher, the game came after their disappointing draw last weekend in the Premier League against Wolves. Fortunately for us though, we have Slot at the helm. The scoreline already suggests that it wasn't an easy game, and as expected, both managers had to battle it out tactically, with Slot going with a heavily rotated first team. So in case you missed the match for any reason, or you just want to understand better what actually happened, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump straight into our video. So as we just mentioned guys, Slot might have fielded his most rotated team since the start of the season. Jaros got rewarded with his first start of the campaign in goal, with Jarell Quansah and Joe Gomez also returning to the first 11. Connor Bradley and Andy Robertson played as the fullbacks, while Wataru Endo formed the double pivot alongside Tyler Morton, who we all have been waiting to watch after his impressive loan spell last season. Curtis Jones completed the midfield trio with Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz and Dominic Szoboszlai forming the front line. Yes, you heard that right. A lot of you are probably wondering how did we approach the game with 4 midfielders on the pitch and no out-and-out striker. Well sure, Slot's setup may have seemed confusing at first, but it's actually quite simple to understand. It's something we already seen in pre-season, so let us explain. Out of possession, we saw the usual 4-2-4 system we've been using all campaign. And while we might have a video coming soon about this structure and why it can be dangerous to us at times, it actually worked last night, especially in the early stages of the game. See, Brighton's head coach is possession based. He likes to dominate the ball, overload central areas and carve through opposition's lines. And this is exactly where last night's clash got interesting. Both sides share a lot of similarities. As we said, Brighton, like Liverpool, like to maintain possession in order to break down teams. They also want to bait the opposition's press, create spaces in behind, and hit teams using the lethal wingers that they have. This played perfectly to Liverpool. First, because the 4-2-4 shape out of possession covers central areas well while also giving access to jump wide players to regain possession. The second is, which is an approach the majority of us are against, is how passive our front line is when pressing. Fortunately, this worked in our favour as Brighton found no use to bait the press and exploit the spaces in behind. Now, there's no confusion when it comes to the lineup in that shape, but a lot of you guys may be wondering how did Liverpool play when they had the ball? Let us explain. Arne Slot pushed his men up the pitch, shifting into a usual fluid build-up shapes. The 4-1-5 becomes a 3-1-6 higher up the pitch, and all those fluid structures we're used to seeing under Slot. However, we had no number 9, and that's where Jones and Szoboszlai come in. Similar to the Betis pre-season game, we played with the double 10s instead, with both players occupying central spaces and dropping deep to receive. One of the key parts of this lineup was Connor Bradley, with a young fullback playing almost as a winger, pushing high up the pitch in order to play as a touchline forward. But why exactly are these small details important? Well, if you haven't been paying any attention to the Premier League this season, you'll know that the Brighton manager is an extremely talented tactician, and as we all know, Slot is just as intelligent. In any kind of game between two tacticians, it's the minor tweaks like Connor Bradley pushing up the pitch and Cody Gakpo operating in the half spaces that can change the game. Looking at the first goal in the opening minutes of the second half, it's one of these tactical decisions that opened the scoring. So as Liverpool turned the ball over out of possession, Cody Gakpo, who was operating in the 4-2-4 as we mentioned, broke forward behind the Brighton defence. It's because of this tactical change that Gakpo is able to put Liverpool ahead in the tie. And by the way guys, how good has Cody Gakpo been this season? Every time he's played, he showed that he's in contention for a starting place, which shows you how important properly profiling players are. However, Gakpo wasn't the only one deserving praise for the first goal. It was also the assist for the youngster, Tyler Morton. Picking up the ball in midfield, the English teenager was able to play a perfect pass directly into the path of Gakpo and over the Brighton defence, allowing the Dutchman to get a clear run in behind, picking up the ball 1v1 with the defender where he thrives. It's safe to say that we are all impressed with the last night's performance from Morton. The 21-year-old finished the game with an 81% successful passes and 3 ground duels 1 out of 7 as he bossed the midfield. So do you think it's time Morton to get more time with the senior squad, or should Slot only give him cup minutes like yesterday? Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Also, just like we mentioned, the momentum in this game shifted consistently across the game, with Brighton hitting the post and creating brilliant chance directly after Liverpool's goal. Thankfully, we have the third best goalkeeper in the world in Jaros, who made a brilliant save to deny the Seagulls. Now, there were certain stages of the game where Liverpool dominated possession, whilst Brighton had the ball in others, so ultimately having difference makers like Cody Gakpo was what won us the game at the end. And just to hammer home that point, it was Cody Gakpo who created and scored the second goal. It felt like Cody had enough after Szoboszlai missed the chance he created for him, so he took it upon himself to add another one. With the usual direct balls we get used to under Slot, Gakpo was able to win the ball back high up the pitch, and when he picks up the ball in those positions, he's practically unstoppable. The left winger took on Brighton's defender one-on-one before firing a rocket of a shot into the near post to score his third goal in 2 successive games in the Cup, making him our top goal scorer in the competition. So after his man of the match performance yesterday, do you think Cody Gakpo deserves to be the first name on the team sheet when we face Brighton this weekend? Or should Luis Diaz keep his place on the left-hand side? Now, we've already praised Jaros earlier, but let us do it again. He was the man who started the move that led to the second goal. The Czech youngster played an impressive game and didn't look out of place, with a key role in the build-up to the goal, as we already mentioned, and multiple impressive saves, including one that looked like a guaranteed goal. The young goalkeeper was arguably just as instrumental in the win last night as Cody Gakpo. And just as we thought we'd have smooth sailing, things went completely berserk in the last 10 minutes. As we tried to build out from the back, Jurgen Quansah eventually lost the ball, which resulted in a dangerous situation for the home team. Now, some might argue that Jaros could have done better with the chance, as he parried the first shot directly into the path of a player, rather than holding on to it. But can we really blame the young keeper for finding himself in that situation? Lucky we have Lucho, who took it upon himself to score the third and give us some room to breathe. But shortly after, Lamptey brought Brighton back into the game once more. This time, there's no way anyone can point the finger at Jaros, as the ball took a huge deflection of Quansah. So yeah guys, we might need to have a conversation over Quansah. Since the first half against Ipswich, the young defender never looked the same every time he stepped onto the pitch, which by the way, wasn't many times. There's no question that Abraham Konate has cemented his place in the starting lineup, but that doesn't mean that Quansah can give up and lose focus. Or maybe he's trying too much to prove himself. We'll leave that up to you to answer in the comments. Thankfully, Quansah's mistake didn't cost us in the end, as we managed to close the game off with a 3-2 win. Although we could have had an easier time in the closing stages, controlled the game a bit better with the ball, we shouldn't forget that this was a young team playing, and it made sense for some players to feel pressure away from home. That's another win in the bag, which is what matters most, and at the weekend we'll be aiming to do the same against the same team, but this time at Anfield. So who do you think should start the next game? And what are your thoughts on our 4-2-4 defensive approach? As we said, we might have something coming soon about it. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more Liverpool deep dives. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.